Michael, coming to you live from the balcony in Penh, Cambodia. You know how we do. What's up with it, guys? So I'm out here on the balcony. It is a beautiful day. We have really nice weather right now. It's rainy season, and yeah, it fucking pours sometimes, but when it's not pouring, the weather is just fantastic. It's really, really good. Sorry, guys, I'm putting the pen back in the phone. All right, so I'm playing with this new selfie stick, so we'll have to see if this is easier for me for filming. I'm gonna try to use it more because I've been using like a different style one, and I want to see. This is pretty good shot. Yeah. So yeah, what's going on there, niece and nephew? If you in the room, smash the like button. So I'm going to tell you guys today my opinion of what's going on with the tourist visa. They announced today that it passed the Congress in Vietnam. So it's a law. So now it needs to go through several other government ministries, like the Ministry of Public Security and the Ministry of, what was the other one? Health. That's right. So they're going to have to come up with some sort of a policy on how these things are going to be implemented. So it's not really like officially back the way that people are announcing it online, and I want to make sure that people understand in context what actually happened, so they don't start getting overly excited and thinking they're just going to fly in and live endlessly on 3-month tourist visas. This is very unlikely that that's going to be what happens, guys. It's extremely unlikely. What they're doing now is that immigration and the Vietnamese government in general, they're trying to prevent the situation that they had where before COVID, where lots and lots of foreigners are living illegally on tourist visas and working illegally without having like the right documentation, right? So there's a lot of eyes on tourist visas, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on visa runs. So what they're saying is basically the law was written in such a way that it allows for the immigration official to give up to 90 days. It doesn't guarantee 90 days. So 90 days, one, is not compulsory. What that's going to look like in practice is hard to say, right? We need to see what happens when it goes through the next 2 government ministries, because they're going to have a decree. And once the decree is going to be how the law will be enforced. So that's what's going to come next. As far as for the actual visa itself, from what I'm understanding, it's going to become more like Thailand and Vietnam. It's going to become more similar to where occasionally they stop people on border runs, but I don't know if it's going to become more than Thailand, where they're checking people regularly to see if they're crossing borders, or whether it's just going to be kind of a casual thing and it's enforced loosely, right? So, I mean, this remains to be seen. The 3 months is not going to be for all nationalities. It's most likely going to be for people like the United States, Canada, Australia. My partner even mentioned that some European countries will probably not be included. I imagine that all the rich, like really rich Western European democracies, it's going to be probably possible, but it's hard to say. It still needs to go through several government ministries, and that's the key of the conversation today. Is I want everybody to understand that what you see online, you're going to start seeing a lot of posts in Facebook groups where everyone like, it's back, it's back, it's back. We're going to have 3 months in Vietnam, and I don't think there's a lot of context being given. I think people are just getting like overly excited about something that hasn't really been defined yet. And the Vietnamese government in recent history has become very, very, very stringent and bureaucratic, and there's a lot of breakdown where there's not a lot of things that are getting done, and there's the investigations, and now there was the shooting in Dak Lak province where they're blaming it on foreign influence. So there's a lot of eyes going on around immigration at the moment. And again, my friend even said, he's like, obviously, we have our suspicions of who is involved in it, right? But he says it doesn't matter. It will affect all matters of immigration because that's just the way it works, And I get that because, their system of governance is somewhat absolute, so I understand. But the problem that, has a direct effect on people who are trying to live out there, like even like, for example, me, I'm a businessman. I own a business in Vietnam, right? And still, the time that it takes in order for them to process my work permit is longer than the initial business visa that they're willing to issue me. Now, I could stay there and just continue to renew my business visas by crossing a border, going to an embassy and having to get another business visa again, or I could just hang out here in Cambodia until my shit is done and then just kind of come and go in Vietnam as I please, which is kind of my plan. Because I actually lived in Vietnam for a long time, guys, and I'm not really dying to go and live there again. Like, there are certain places I would live there. Like, I really loved living in Nha Trang for a little while. I wouldn't mind hanging out in Hanoi for a few months. Cities I like. I mean, Hue's cool, you know. But at the end of the day, like, you know, I want to do something different while I'm still young, and I'm looking more and more at South Asia. Like, I have a couple destinations in India that I want to check out. There's actually a city called Pune. I don't know if I'm going to get to see it, but I'm interested in like positioning myself there. It's got the highest standard of living in India. It's like where all the rich Mumbai kids go to university, and supposedly it's got fresh air, green mountains and shit, and fucking it's a university town. So that's something I'm kind of looking at. But for those of you who are a large portion of my business are interested in Vietnam, so it's important that I keep you guys up to date on what's really going on over there. And you guys got to remember that at the end of the day, Vietnam is not a place that things stay linear for too long. You know what I mean? Whatever policies come out, by the time that they get into law, could look really different than anything that anybody's going to be forecasting now. Like, everybody is going on Facebook groups and they're all screaming, oh, it's going to be fucking right back, you know, it's back. We're going to get 3 months. And they don't even realize that the language of the law, right? It was written in such a way to where they can give you up to 3 months, which is good. It is good. Like, if you're a legitimate tourist, that's good. I mean, you're going to get to hang out in the country for 3 months. I mean, you know, but what I'm hearing is that they're going to, you know, they're going to be watching people who cross borders. Like, for example, if you guys are running back and forth every month doing visa runs, that may not be allowed, especially if they're going to give a 3-month visa. Now, can they fully stop that? I don't even know, right? But it may be one of those situations where, like, you know, they just randomly sacrifice a few foreigners once in a while. I mean, I suspect that's kind of how it would go. But, you know, they can set whatever policies they want to set. I mean, there's, you know, these places are not exactly strongholds of democracy, you know, you know? So, you know, if they're going to return to the 3-month tourist visa, I think it's a good thing. But given the behavior of the Vietnamese government and since COVID and their you know, stern attitude towards, you know, immigration matters and corruption and stuff, I would just not fuck around, you know? I would say if you are a legitimate tourist and you just want to come for 3 months, come have a holiday and, you know, see lots of the country, live in a few places. But if you're going to try to live there doing it, I don't think it's a very good idea, because their attitude is really not that right now. You know, I mean, there's like obviously a need for money to boost the economy. In my opinion, I think they should go back to the way things were before COVID. I mean, it was the fucking Wild West, but it was also great. I mean, you know, Cambodia is a little bit more that way. Like, here you have absolutely, like, you know, I mean, total chaos basically, but it's getting a lot nicer here. I'm really starting to like it here. Every time I come back, I want to stay more, because, you know, the infrastructure is improving, the quality of life is improving. I prefer the tuk-tuks over the motorbikes. I don't know, there's just a lot of advantages. Plus, Cambodia is very foreigner friendly, and that's something I like in terms of business. Now, for those of you who want to live in Vietnam long term, just get at me on the Facebook fan page or on any of the contact information in any of our videos. And you can reach us. We got, you know, the Instagram, WhatsApp, all that shit. I mean, I'm even posting fucking videos on TikTok, brush your teeth. But I mean, it is what it is. If you're in the room, smash the like button, guys. Feel free to comment, ask questions. I'm just running my mouth because I really don't know. I mean, I'm here to answer some questions if anybody wants to. And I figure this is a topic, this is something that they announced today, and I figured it would be good for me to make myself available if anybody wanted to ask any questions about, like, what's really going on with this. Because people, I'm telling you, are going to start tripping. You're going to start seeing it everywhere. Vietnam's 3-month business visas are back. But it's a good sign anyway. Like, it's a sign that the country recognizes that there's a value to tourism, and that they were making some good dough before the pandemic. They were getting dough. Like, Vietnam was starting to, like, in terms of GDP, catch up to Thailand. So that was kind of crazy. And then, you know, everything that went down and now it's been the other way. So, it's great to hear that they're loosening up and that they're going to start letting more foreigners in. I think that's a great thing. But I also think it's important to respect their laws, because they're not fucking around these days, guys. Like, the days of like setting up fake shell companies and just living in Vietnam are pretty much over. If you want to live out there, you need to have a legit business, and like, it's not so hard. Like, we can help you do it, and we can make it painless too. It's like, if you have dough, it's not a problem. Nothing is a problem here if you have dough. There's no such thing. There's no problems in this part of the world if you have money. And that's one of the things about it, I guess, that, if you're entrepreneurial, there's a lot of advantages. I mean, even in Vietnam, with the high amount of bureaucracy and all the fucking crazy stuff, and, really they're just trying to weed out the people who keep doing the tourist visas and living there illegally. I get it. Like, why would you want that? Like, they don't have that much money. Like, it's not necessary for them to be in the country. Like, if they're coming into the country, then they really should be on some sort of a correct visa. And I get that, but I also think that from a Western perspective, as someone who helps people relocate to different countries, like, you want to think about where you're going to be treated well also, and like, if the process to get into Vietnam was much more streamlined, and it wasn't as much like bureaucratic changes and problems within the infrastructure of like immigration and the labor department and this stuff, if it could just be more streamlined and quick, people who have capital will pay for that. People who have more dough and they don't want to like have to put up with a lot of bullshit, they'll pay to streamline a service. But the problem now is that you've got people who are paying, and we're doing our best to facilitate for them, but it's difficult to work with the bureaucracy at the moment. It's like almost at a fucking standstill over there. Now, of course, we can get things done. We sort people out. We can help you with the blacklists. We can help you set up companies. We can help you if you get into legal trouble. Like, any kind of situation you're in out here, just you get a hold of me and we'll figure something out. We'll find you a solution. My Vietnamese partner has his shit together. He's a very, very good guy to know. And it's great because our relationship has been growing and there's more trust now. And, but in the beginning of doing business with people, you got to be so careful, and you just never know. And I'm from New York, so I'm paranoid as fuck. I don't trust anybody. So it takes me like a while, like I'm like the foster dog that doesn't want to fucking, be in a house yet, Anyways, if you're in the room, smash the like button. So I want everybody to know that, in my opinion, I think it's a good thing. It's nice. I think more people should come to Vietnam. It's a beautiful country. It's a country I love. I fucking made my life there. It changed my life. It made me into who I am today. If I never lived in Vietnam, I would never be who I am. Brush your teeth. But yeah, so it is what it is, guys. Like, if you want to fucking come to a place where it's very inexpensive to live and you got dough, Vietnam is the spot. It's great. But expect it to be complicated and bureaucratic, and we want to follow the law, because it's just, they're not fucking around these days. So, but following the law in itself is challenging. It's not like in a Western country. Like, this is not a relatively straightforward process. Actually, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of people who are, they're sitting on these companies that they set up for investment, right? So they could get the investor visa, and now they're all being forced to get work permits anyway. So like, our method, where it doesn't involve you having to make capital investment, it's fully legal, and it's a better method. It's a better way to stay if you really want to live in Vietnam, because it's going to be a little bit more bureaucratic and expensive, but it's legal. And when you come out on the other side, you don't need to worry. As long as you're following the law, you're fine. You're not going to have any problems, right? And you can get yourself TRCs for yourself, up to 2 people on a company, your dependents. So if you look at it like that, it's much cheaper than like a Thai elite visa, whereas each elite visa is relatively pretty much attached to you. Even dependents have to put up quite a bit of dough. With Vietnam, that's not really the case. They won't, all dependents won't need work permits, and it's actually not a bad deal. And the country is very beautiful. It's very nice. It's got fucking a great standard of living. If if you have a little bit of Western income, or if you can teach and you're willing to live in the big cities, or occasionally in the provinces, you can make money. It's good that way. If you have a college degree, that's an option for teaching English. You can always do that. If you were trying to be a little more entrepreneurial and you don't have much more capital, I would probably look more at Cambodia or Laos, but more so Cambodia probably than I would at Vietnam. With Vietnam, you probably want to have a little bit of capital, or at least have some investors or people who might want to come in with you, because you can have really cheap, real estate. You can find cheap help. But if you're doing any kind of like local business, dealing with the local government in itself becomes so immersive. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be really part of your life. Even if you're paying and we're, like us, for example, and we're facilitating, we do our best to mitigate any kind of stress. But like when they go around and change rules, like, for example, there were, not so long ago, you could get your 3-month business visa extended. You could have it extended twice by 1 month each time. And then fast forward now, it's like you got to cross the border for 15 days and go to the embassy. And it's like, then they got the people who know people who are like in the background trying to make dough with the immigration officials. But little by little, the government's moving all this shit online. And the way the internet portal works is that, like, for example, like a case might come in and it's not going to get handed to an agent. It's going to go into the portal system. And what that will do is it'll spit it out to random agents in either Hanoi or Saigon. So, for example, certain things that like visa agents do to facilitate, to get people like fast tourist visas and shit like that, like that's going to become impossible. But it's just how you gonna give some coffee money to a guy when you don't know if you're even in the same fucking city as him? You know what I mean? So a lot of the traditional, conventional visa agents you're going to see start to die off, and you're going to definitely see it be more like scam artists or like actual people who are like following the law, like it's like, because the gray area thing in Vietnam is getting, at least under this administration, it is not the go, really. I mean, we all know what it is over there, right? So, not saying things don't happen, but, the general attitude and the mood of the country is not one that's like, oh, everything's going to go back to being a big old party, come here and stay forever. Because that's not the buzz. I can tell you that right now. So if you do have, the fortune of having like a U.S. passport or a passport from fucking like one of the countries that gets selected for the, for the 3-month tourist visa, I would use it. I would leverage it. I would use it in a smart way. I would come to the country, and that gives me 3 months. But I wouldn't try to live on it. I wouldn't bank on that they're going to continue to give it to me every month, or that they may not deny me at some point at the border, which could be a fucking problem if all your shit is and you just think you're doing a border run and now you're stuck in Cambodia. So I don't know if it's going to get to that point, but that's kind of the language that I'm hearing, is that there's going to be a lot of eyes on how many times people are doing border runs. Because the thing is I don't think they don't want people that are like really in the country right now, that aren't like, involved in a company of their own or employed by a Vietnamese company or registered, married to a local, this type of stuff. It's just the vibes, guys. I think the opening for the 3 months is strictly a monetary thing, because it is a good thing. Like, if you're a legitimate tourist, you can see all of Vietnam in 3 months. That would be fucking really cool, That's a good amount of time to do it. Like, you're not rushing from point A to point B. You can really chill in a couple cities and get the vibe, Like, that's nice. But for people who are thinking they're going to do this and just run 3 month after 3 month, I think that might be a little bit too premature to say that right now, and it doesn't match the political vibe, right? It doesn't match the things that are going on in the country. Now, guys, I'm about, I think it's like, God, maybe 4 or 5 hour bus ride to Saigon right now. What's up, Karen? The monthly visa run ought to be tossed again. Sorry, let me see if I can see that again. It faded away. Top shot. The monthly visa run toss spots ought to be tossed permanently along with their salad. Karen, I agree with you. Honestly, I don't know why these countries want broke motherfuckers in there. Like, I mean, I know people are poor and that any economy from the West is something. Like, they do buy fucking cheap noodles and fried rice and shit. They employ somebody, right? But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Vietnam's like, it's a nice market. Like, it's a nice market. It's got a nice cost of living. It has problems with pollution, obviously. But for the most part, it's a nice place to live, right? So why not? Why not be a little bit more choosy? Why do they have to have that? Like, you know what I mean? Why they don't have to develop the way Thailand developed. I mean, there's different pathways to this. So I don't necessarily disagree with them. Maybe they want to preserve the culture more. They're concerned now because of the shooting in Dak Lak. So I'm sure they're concerned about, any kind of international problems or intervention, in their territory, obviously. Now, I don't think they're pointing any fingers at America or the UK or anything like that, but it's still going to affect us regardless, because whatever effects it has, it will have on general immigration. And regardless of whether you're a favorable nationality or not, like visa policy is whatever they say it is. You know, like, and they'll fuck around and change the laws in like rapid and dramatic ways, and you know, there's nothing we can say or do about it really. I'm happy that this is happening. Overall, I think it's good. I think, you know, even backpackers are good, right? I think the thing the Vietnamese don't really want is they don't want them setting up shop and just not getting on the right visa. Like, you know, they're like just being bums and living in the country in the cheapest way possible, right? And I understand that perspective. I mean, like, you know, like you look around at some of these countries, and if they just let everybody in, just any asshole can fucking come in. It never really is like so great for the local people, you know? Like, I can see why they would want to protect their markets, but they also got to be careful too, because, you know, Southeast Asia is a competitive place. Like, there is a lot of people vying for these foreigners' money. Like, you know, Thailand is the king, but Cambodia more and more is opening up to a really favorable business climate. This is one of the best places you want to be in Southeast Asia. Also, guys, I don't know if you guys have been told this, but the banking in Cambodia is also very good. And that's something that's unusual. And obtaining bank accounts here is not very difficult. Whereas in Vietnam, everything with banking is a fucking problem. Everything. You know, it's very easy to send money to Vietnam. Like, for example, I have a client pays me and I have to give a percentage to my partner in Vietnam, so I can send him money easily. Now, say, for example, there's a commission or something. It's a fucking nightmare for him to get anything to me. Luckily, he has overseas accounts, but fuck me, bro. Like, it's become so crazy, the banking. Like, if you don't have the right documents, suddenly your fucking account gets frozen. There's all this bullshit going on. Whereas over here, I've had a fucking bank account already now for a while. It's a fucking scan to pay system. It's fantastic. The banking app is fucking straightforward and good. I've had no problem receiving money, sending money. You know, that's something to consider. You know, but if you look at Cambodia versus Vietnam in terms of market size, it's impossible, guys. Like, you can't even make the comparison. I mean, Vietnam is more like Thailand, you know? I think Vietnam's like 99 million people or something, you know? It's like, you know, if you look at a satellite photo of like the border of Cambodia and Vietnam, it's like, as soon as you cross into Vietnam, it goes from being like dark to like bing, like the sun with light and how many people there are. So, I mean, yeah, it's very, very different. Yeah, this is, you know, it's a good time. I'm happy that Vietnam's doing it. I hope that it works out for them. I really hope that people try not to abuse it, because if you abuse it right now with everything that's going on, it's going to go away quickly. Even Thailand, they brought in the STD visa briefly, and they were like, yeah, you know, you can rock out and stay up to 9 months in Thailand. That shit was gone in like not even a month. It was like, no, we're gonna make way more money on you than that. Fuck you, you know. So that's one of the things, you know, that you got to realize about these countries, right? They know that they know what they got. They got, you know, and why not? Like, why not? You know, leverage it. It's a low cost of living, great business climate, good weather. You know, many people are attracted to the women. You know, there's a fucking reason why so many expats want to come here. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Whether it be Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, whichever one you choose. But more and more as things change, guys, Vietnam is going to become, I think, increasingly more of a place where they really want to kind of limit and not develop the way that Thailand developed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like that's not the vibe right now. So for those of you who intend to try to use the 3-month tourist visa to try to live in Vietnam, I would be skeptical at this point if that's going to work. And again, we don't really know what the law is going to look like until probably July, because now what's happening basically is they passed the law in the Congress, and now they need to figure out, like, okay, how will this law be enforced, right? Like, how is it going to be implemented? And the language that's being used is you'll be allowed up to 90 days, right? And again, this is going to be very dependent on your nationality. It's actually appearing to become even more hard and difficult for South African, regular Sub-Saharan African, North African, Middle Eastern nationalities. They've had some trouble with some Russians around some spots in Vietnam. And I don't know if there's going to be any kind of, any kind of like more difficulty for them with the visas or not, because the countries have a long relationship. But like, it's, there's some things that are happening that are below the surface with like foreigners per se, that like kind of rub some of the people that are in power the wrong way. So my suggestion to most people would be just try to get a legal visa, either get an employer, get a company set up, marry someone, but just try to be above board and just not fuck around right now. Like, if they are starting to ease up on things like tourist visas, then this is a good sign, because for the last couple of months I've been hearing over and over that this was not going to pass in the Congress, and it ended up passing in the Congress. So there's a push to give foreigners a little bit more access. Don't abuse it, because they're not looking to have a bunch of foreigners come in and go like it was before the pandemic. I can tell you that. For 100% sure that's not what's going on. Anyways, let me read that last comment. They do what they like in Vietnam. You have no real choice. Exactly, Gary. That's right. That is exactly right. You don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, and even they don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. They make it up as they go along. Even the solicitor there and others no-go if you piss someone off. Oh yeah, lawyer don't mean shit in Vietnam, bro. I knew a dude who was getting set up with shell companies back in the day by a lawyer, and when that lawyer got himself into legal trouble, his whole fucking everybody he did a visa for got in trouble also. And we ended up having to help him get off a blacklist, and it was back then it was a little bit expensive. Back in the day, what would happen is like back in the day, like before COVID, right? What would happen is like if you were blacklisted for some sort of like using a fucking shell company to sponsor your visa or something, like normally you just would have to pay anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, right? And what that would do is they usually would try to like, okay, well, we want 2,000, and you just leave the country and like, I'm not coming back, but I'll pay 1,000. Most of the time you could get it for that, right? That was like, you had a little play. Now it's like these motherfuckers might turn around and say some stupid shit like $3,000, $5,000, long overstays. Like I'm gonna tell you guys, once it crosses over to 180 days, it's bad. Like the costs are already very high at like over 120 days. But once it reaches to like 180, it like doubles. So like people who are staying on overstays, like I gotta tell you guys a story. So there's a character that I know, right? I'm not gonna say how, but he's a dude from like a developing country, and his visa has been overstayed now since like I think more than a year, right? And his attitude is like, I'm just gonna stay until it gets easy again. And I'm like, bro. You don't even have like a US passport or a British passport. Like he's got a passport where the Vietnamese probably couldn't point to it on a map. And if they do like grab him, they're not going to treat him the way they would treat you coming from Australia or New Zealand or something, right? Like they're going to treat him a lot differently. Whereas you, even if you overstayed for a really long time, you're not going to end up in any kind of jail, Oh, I got somebody look, I got a troll in here. Oh, wow, that didn't take long. Oh, okay, tough guy. Well, anyways, I am good, guys. Thank you for watching today. If you guys need anything, hit me up on the Facebook fan page. That was my 2 cents. And I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you like it, please share it. And if you guys have any questions about whether you want to come out here, do business, or do any kind of fucking, really anything, find a job, Oh God, is this Mr. X? Yo guys, hold on, check this out. This Kicks guy in the message there is, he's claiming to be the infamous Mr. X. So Mr. X was like this old man up in Hoi An. I gotta tell you this, I thought that was just the troll, and I was like, but he's shouting Mr. X out. So Mr. X was this like weird old man that got really fixated on a lot of Vietnam travel bloggers. Like he got fixated on me, he got fixated on Phuc Mop, and he got fixated on one of my dudes up in Da Nang. I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but he got really into it, and eventually he did something crazy to somebody, and he ended up getting like doxxed, and they shot out this dude's like house, like where his family lived and shit, you know. And I guess he just kind of went away, and now some troll is in my message screaming about Mr. X. So that's kind of funny. That's a little bit, that I gotta tell you, made my day a little bit, because these characters, guys, you meet South. That's kind of the thing, guys. That's why they don't want them living on tourist visas, because you get people like that just fucking end up living there. But to be honest, guys, you could always marry. I mean, you could be a total fuck up, and as long as you marry somebody, you could stay in most cases, as long as you can get the paperwork for the marriage. You know, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, they all have some type of marriage visa. You just don't get much long-term rights. You're not going to get to stay long-term. You actually, you know, you're going to, the thing is, everything is going to belong to your partner. This is so funny. So I got some guy claiming to be Mr. X in my live stream. So anyway, that was the Mr. X story, guys, and that was my live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. If you're in the room, smash the like button. And if you guys are thinking about coming to Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, any of these fucking places, just get at me. You guys should think about Laos. It's kind of good because there's no sex tourism, because it's hard. It's like illegal to have sex with a Lao person, and like there's a little bit of like enforcement, usually just looking for money, but enforcement with that, and that kind of like prevents a lot of the real degeneracy. Like there is a lot of drugs up there, but it's like, you know, it's a small town. Like Vientiane is like a pretty small city. Also, Luang Prabang, guys, is like a work of art. It's like really, really nice. Anyways, I hope everybody's good. Have a good weekend. I wanted to just update everybody. I wanted to make myself available if anybody had any questions. My advice to everybody is just, you know, listen. If you're thinking about coming to these countries, have a little bit of money, have a business plan, or even if you want to come as an employee or whatever, you know, have a vision of what you want to do out here, because nothing good lasts forever. And you know, if you're in at the right time, you can do something here. It's a great place. But, you know, it's getting like everywhere in the world. More and more, you know, people are onto it. People know the spots. And like increasingly, you're going to need to look for developing markets if you want to do something that's unique, you know. Like I was fortunate. I was able to be in Vietnam at the time when it was a good time to be in Vietnam, you know. Like it was very open. It was very easy. I was able to leverage the language teaching thing and my contacts in HR, and I was able to do a lot of cool stuff for my life, and I never imagined I would have been able to do if I didn't, you know, come out here at the time. So I encourage people who haven't made the leap yet to be open-minded and look at places more like Laos, places possibly in South Asia, you know, look off the beaten path. I said it earlier in this live stream, I've even considered certain places in India because it's, you know, just very, you know, high standard of living, places you may never have heard of even. And, you know, each one of these countries, they have these unique little environments where there are pretty open business climates. Like, I mean, even for example, in Africa, like you have Uganda, right? Like you have Kigali, it's supposed to be, they're calling themselves the Singapore of Africa. Now, as somebody who is into this, checking out a culture like that, you know, I mean, you have an open mind and they're calling themselves the Singapore of Africa. You could already tell what it's going to be like with their financial policy. So, you know, and it's I think it's like the safest city in Africa, like one of the cleanest cities in Africa. So there's all these places that people don't probably never think of, but it could be where you could go from doing whatever it is you're doing now to doing something better. And that's, I think really what I hope to achieve through these videos is to show people that I could be somebody who is like, you know, from a very working class and like humble beginnings, and then I could eventually go on to do something that's a bit more productive and, you know, utilize the relationships, right? And you can too. It's something that can be done, you know. If you're a cool person, you know, you resonate with local people. The biggest thing is to try to make local relationships, whatever business you're hoping to do. Because what you want to do is slowly but surely try to understand the business culture. And once you have a little bit of an understanding of the business culture, the opportunities are abound in these countries, you know. Asia is definitely different than the West, but it's been good to me, guys. And I think if you're looking at developing markets, you can do a lot worse than Southeast Asia. I can still help you guys with Mexico. I can help you guys with pretty much anywhere, really. I mean, we have contacts all over. We actually have contacts for Central Asia now. I got a homeboy who's like paving the way up in Mongolia right now, so he's my Central Asia guy. It's just getting, you know, the world's getting more globalized, guys, and like either you're gonna get with the program or get left behind, you know. AI's coming, automation's coming, Like, it's going to come to a point where you need to figure out what you want to do with your lives. And, you know, if you can leverage the language teaching, it's a good business. But again, with AI, I don't know how many more years it's going to be the way it is, guys. So more and more, you know, hesitation is never really the way to go. If you're thinking about making a move in your life, then I strongly suggest, you know, seize the day, because you just never know. Like, I'm looking at approaching India in my 40s, you know. My goal is to be settled down in most likely the Balkans or South Europe somewhere within the next 10 years. So I'm going for mine. I hope you guys are going for yours, and you know, believe in yourselves, because just because somebody tells you you can't do something, you know, don't listen to haters or negative people who, you know, want to shit on you. I mean, these people are fucked up, you know, they have problems in their lives. They're not happy people. Try to be happy, try to spend time with your family, try to focus on your goals. And, you know, if you have work ethic, like I never made big anything with YouTube, but because I had the right business plan, and I realized there were certain niches in the market that needed to be filled, I put myself in a position where I was able to make money and live a lifestyle that would have been impossible for me. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm like a regular dude. I was a nightclub bouncer. And I wasn't like anybody, you know, like some hotshot fucking programmer, you know. I was a goon, you know. And if you watch my old channel back in the day, I was a super goon, you know. I was like fresh out of the fucking bouncing in the shittiest nightclubs in America, like the fucking worst neighborhoods. And, you know, I was a street dude. And when I came out here, I learned a lot, you know, and I'm proud of myself. And I think you guys, you know, those of you who haven't made the jump, Southeast Asia is a great place. You need to respect it though, because it's not, you know, it's not the West. You know, they fucking are on some other shit out here, but they're cool, and everybody's pretty cool. And especially, you know, in South Vietnam, for example, people are eager. They're very interested in doing business, entrepreneurial. They will figure out ways to get money with you. Cambodia is a little bit more difficult for that. You know, here it's more laid back, but then the business policies and the visas and you know, the laws around regulation are much more relaxed here. So this is another, you know, advantage. Of, you know, I've heard from a lot of employers that it's actually quite difficult to get good help here, whereas in Vietnam, you know, they'll have maybe a bunch of people running around in circles, but like they'll do it. Like the job will get done. You know what I mean? Like it'll be tense. You know, they're really different kinds of societies. Each one of these countries is so different from each other, and their philosophy is different from each other. And like that's what's so cool about this part of the world. The business networking you can do here is mental, and you know, you tap into places like, you know, in the Philippines, or you tap into places in like, you know, India, where people are English language speakers, and the business networking, it's even more exponential. So while I'm still young, that's my ambition right now, is to take on South Asia, Central Asia, and depending on if I'm not dead yet, like fucking sub-Saharan Africa at some point, right? But my home, when I have enough capital to grab myself like a respectable little condo, I'm feeling like it's gonna be like Montenegro or Albania. That's kind of like where, like, Albania is my heart, but I think I probably would also like Montenegro, so I want to check it out. And both of them have relatively straightforward residency programs. I'm going for my Italian passport right now, but I'm a 1948 case, which means that we're gonna have to go through my paternal grandmother, she got U.S. citizenship because back then women were like the property. So the husband got the U.S. citizenship and the wife instantly got the U.S. citizenship, which meant they had to give up their Italian citizenship. But because the Italian Supreme Court found that it was unconstitutional to take away a woman's nationality because she didn't agree to it, you know, they now are allowing us to apply this way. So I'm going through my great grandmother from Sicily. And we are eligible. It's just a matter of documentation and money, really. I mean, so hopefully we'll have a European passport. That's what I'm striving to. I have residency in New Zealand if I ever needed to retreat to a Western country and not have to go back to the States. But to be honest, guys, I did not like living in New Zealand. It was just another expensive Western country with a low standard of living for fucking tons of money. I think, you know, there are some health issues of living in Southeast Asia, and this is why I prefer to live in the Balkans long term. I would prefer to live in, like, you know, Albania, like I said, or possibly Montenegro. What's nice about Albania is that they're very pro-American because of the Kosovo conflict. They have very good relationships with Americans, and we get a year visa on arrival, which is a big advantage as a U.S. citizen, and it gives us lots of time to organize residency. The only thing I need to look at is I know that they do tax foreign income, but I don't make so much for an income, so I need to see how that will affect me personally. But that's something we're working on now. And these are services, as I figure them out, guys, I'll be able to do them for other people too. We're gonna start trying to figure out how to establish a company now over in either like Estonia or Malta, something like an LLC. So as I learn this process, you guys can come along with me, and you know, sooner or later you'll see. Eventually I'll be able to offer it as a service, but first I have to learn it myself. Anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe, share. I'm gonna chill out the rest of my day. It is a beautiful, beautiful day out here, guys. Check it out. Look how nice it is, guys. Look at that. I love rainy season. You know, if you don't have to fucking go nowhere and you're just chilling, this is the best. The weather, guys, is so fucking nice. I can't even tell you, it's so nice right now. It's like a cool breeze, and look at this, look at all this construction they're fucking doing over here. That's crazy. They're putting up towers, man. Phnom Penh is coming up. It has gotten so much nicer since the first time I came here like 10 years ago. I gotta tell you guys, Cambodia gets into you. You fall in love with it. There's a magic to this place. I don't know. And like, they really do have a pro-business attitude. I mean, it's a great place to come and spend some money. The banking surprised me, is they really are emerging as a banking market. Like, it's much nicer to do business here than it is to do it with the Vietnamese banks. I mean, fuck, man, you know, when it comes to your money, you want to make sure you always can get on it, right? Anyway, smash the like button if you're in the room. Thank you to the troll for commenting, because it gets me some engagement. I appreciate you. Thank you to Gary for shouting out a lot of comments, bro, because every time that you comment, it helps with the algorithm. And if people inside liked what we had to say today, smash the like button, share the video. If you're thinking about coming to Southeast Asia or Central Asia or Eastern Europe or Latin America, get at us. We got contacts in all those places. This is a service, guys, for people who don't want to have to worry about it, right? Like, you can go to these countries and try to establish your own companies. You can go there and make your own connections. But, you know, the way we see it is that there's a certain segment of the population that just doesn't want to deal with any bullshit. They want to work with honest people, and that's what we can do. We can help you. I can do China too, by the way. I can do China. I got contacts for employment out there. I've got some contacts for the provinces as well. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, everybody. If you like the video, share them. It helps us. Anyways, take care. Have a good weekend. I hope everybody's families are safe and everybody's happy and healthy.